Okay, we're back with Alin. We talked about Alin's history, ping-ponging around the country, doing countless different jobs, running away from the military, rooming with Lenny Kravitz. I mean, it was, we spent the first episode, I was spent the first episode just fascinated with all the different things that you spent the early part of your career doing. You eventually ended up in New York City learning dreadlocks from the salon owner of Hair Police Salon.
Yes, Sonia Peterson.
Sonia Peterson, and then we left off with your friend, your Portuguese friend, Salty Dreads, coming in
Yes, Mario
and
Line.
and giving you dreadlocks. And that started. Okay, yeah, Alin is showing, for those listeners, she's showing us her dreadlocks, which are braided in the most beautiful way. How long did it take you to get that braid?
Oh, just now? When
Yeah,
I
I mean, you just did it this morning quickly.
like 20 seconds.
20 seconds. It's just, you're like my daughter. My daughter has gotten so good. She watches YouTube and she's pure comedy. At night, she always has her hair tied up in weird devices and stuff to like let it dry in certain ways. So then when she wakes up, it's all like ready to go. And then she does these very elaborate braids and they're all like tight and perfect and they hold all day. Anyway, it's very impressive.
How old is this magical girl?
She is 13. She's been doing that for probably 2 years, at least 3 years. And she's gotten extremely good at it. She disappears into her bathroom with an iPad and YouTube, and she comes out being able to do all these things. And then she wakes up in the morning and her hair's all bouncy and this way or that way. And it's like different every day.
I love that.
Yeah, it's
That
pretty cool.
that gives me inspiration.
Yeah, I guess she is inspirational. I'm going to tell her that. She would like to hear that from you. Okay, so we're going to pick up where you decided that dreadlocks was your thing. And you were going to become a dreadlocks-focused hairdresser, and you're going to create a dreadlocks-focused product, right?
Yeah, well, the services started first.
Yep.
I was thoroughly intrigued by dreadlocks. I met Sonia because the salon that I worked at, it was called Dandy Hair Salon in New York City, and I was an assistant there. I was working full time at Trash and Vaudeville, and I was working with Dang and Ray Goodman for Trip Clothing. And that was kind of my full-time thing. And then I also did part-time visual merchandising for Old Navy and Diesel. And I was a part-time assistant at Dandy. So I didn't sleep, but I was young. I could do that.
Yeah, no kidding. What is the most common question that you get from kind of the general public? I imagine you get a lot of questions from the general public
Yes.
about dreadlocks, maybe even more than hairdressers on your gram or just out in public. So what are the most common questions from the general public?
Well, the one question, and I'm sure you've seen the T-shirts that say, "Do you wash your hair?" Because that's one of the. Even today, I was telling you I had a closed board meeting with the HOA, and that's one of the
God
things.
forbid. Oh my God, I get chills, just not good chills, because I'm part of an HOA and it's
Yeah.
just hell.
Are you the vice president as well?
God no, I don't even go to the meetings. I just, I live in a townhouse, and so there's
too.
50 other. Yeah, there you go. So 50 other townhouses, and the HOA is like this cesspool of horrible conflicting personalities and fighting and conflict and backstabbing and all sorts of ridiculousness. And I just hear about it from the periphery. I'd have no desire to get in
I'll
there.
share a little secret with you.
Oh God.
That's why I'm the vice president of my HOA because
Because you like all of that?
no, because I don't let it happen.
Ooh, you control it.
Yes.
Interesting.
We keep people calm and happy and yeah, it's
Look
all
at you.
about, I know. It's about the delivery.
I guess so. I never would have thought that this interview would go into dispute resolution and being the eye in the middle of the storm, but apparently that's who you are.
Yes,
maybe
be
that
the
helps you in
change.
your dreadlock focused career.
Yes, absolutely. But getting back to your question, because I know we can easily get sidetracked.
Yes.
It's do you wash your hair? Because in my meeting today, it's the first, because I just, Line and Erica came to St. Pete, and we can get back to that, and put my dreadlocks back in. So this was the first time the ladies had seen my dreadlocks since they were back in. So that was her first question. And that was
Okay.
the question that I get a lot. Like, do you wash your hair? How do you wash it?
Yeah, well, tell us because I know the listeners are thinking the same questions.
Yeah.
So, how do you wash your hair? Or do you? Well, obviously.
Well, first, you're going to get in the shower and you turn the shower on, and then you put your head under the shower and you get it wet. And then you take this liquid. It's
Wait,
called
this is totally different
shampoo.
than how I do it.
I know, I know. Hold on. It gets no, it's the same. It's the same as brushable hair. You just
Okay.
that's why I have the product line because
Yeah.
when I started doing dreadlocks over 3 decades ago, and there just weren't any products because I've always lived a very clean, natural, sustainable lifestyle. And 30 years ago, a lot of products didn't really exist, especially for dreadlocks. So a couple friends of mine, Jean-Quil and Melinda. She owns Dr. Locks, and Jean-Quil's a longtime friend of mine that also dreadful. She does dreadlocks as well, but it's dreadful, Jean-Quil. But they encouraged me. They're the whole reason that the Dolly Locks line even exists because they were also hairstylists that were in need of a good product line. And they were like, if anybody can do it, it's you. And it took me 7 years of torturing myself trying to figure out the formulations. And we can go back and talk about that. But getting back to the shampoo, I'm gonna keep us on track today.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, so when you shampoo the hair, it's just like brushable hair, and that's why I started the product line because it needs to be a clarifying shampoo. It needs to be, of course, pH balanced, and ingredients are a key component to, having residue-free, plant-based ingredients. So it's one of those things that it's like if you want it and it doesn't exist, create it.
Okay. So, what people assume that you don't wash dreadlocks because why? I guess I assumed that you don't at least wash them the same way.
But you do.
But you
The only
do.
difference is you don't brush it because it's compressed matted hair.
Got it.
So when you wash the hair, and even with brushable hair, shampoo is essentially designed to clean the scalp. And that's what shampoo does. So regardless if you have dreadlocks or brushable hair, you're gonna apply your liquid shampoo, or we have a shampoo bar as well. And I know there's a lot of shampoo bars out there for brushable hair now too. But just applying the shampoo to the hand, rubbing it into the scalp, and rinsing it clean. The only thing and as a hairstylist, I've always been someone that I believe in washing your hair no more than once a week. And I've always, that's always been my philosophy because hair does not need to be washed more than that. There's other ways of keeping your scalp clean without completely washing the hair and saturating it because your hair needs that natural oil, which is also something that we have in the product line as well. But
Well, okay, so that's the most common question. Any other common questions that you get from the general public about dreadlocks?
how do you do that, and is that your hair? So I just give them the gist of it, to make dreadlocks. It's a backcombing technique, and most people do a backcombing technique in hook work, which is a type of crochet. Some people they have other techniques like rip and twist, and there's neglect. There's a million different ways to do it. It just depends upon what you want the end result to be. And of
Neglect,
course,
neglect as a technique.
well, you know what that word means, so.
Yes, right. It's just funny. I'm not surprised, but it is funny to discuss that because I think in the 6.5, maybe 7 years of the podcast, I don't know if we've ever discussed neglect as a specific technique.
Well, you can do neglect to anything. You can
Of
have a
course.
neglected hairstyle.
I'm good at neglect in some parts of my life.
I know. Well, we're all a little guilty of it, or
Yeah,
good at it, whichever
right.
way you look at it.
That's really funny. Okay, so back home. So if you want to um, not if you don't want to do the neglect method, you want
Yes.
to do the purposeful method. So somebody, one of your clients is going to go to you and say, "I want this." Then you're going to probably do it in the purposeful method, which is a backcombing technique.
That is true.
And so you backcomb, and then what? You compress it manually.
Depending upon your technique, but yes. So essentially, what the crochet hook will do is bind the hairs in a um, whichever pro. I mean, so many people do it differently. So my technique is using a crochet hook to encase the dreadlock itself. The only thing that I could really compare it to is kind of like a sewing machine. How you're going to pull the thread from the top to the bottom, and that's how you sew the pieces of material together. So you're essentially doing that with hair. So
Wow.
binding it. And like for me, I'm a stickler on having it look as perfectly imperfect as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't like hair wrapped around. Like I like it to just look completely fully compressed. So
Yeah.
that's my technique, and everyone's a little different.
And so would are you tying the hair kind of? Is that another word you could use? You say binding and you're using the crochet hook, but are you kind of knotting it as well? Like can you
It's
unwind it, I guess? Can
of
you
course
you
yeah, you
can
can
okay.
take on dreadlocks. It just takes a long time. It's the
Right.
same thing as if you fell asleep with wet hair and you get a big knot in your hair.
Okay.
But depending upon how long you've had the dreadlocks, that the compression might take a little bit of extra time to pull out. But yeah, I have put dreadlocks in. Of course, these are extensions because my hair was only to my shoulders. But yeah, you can put dreadlocks in and take them out. It just takes a long time. I mean, my last takedown probably took about 4 hours.
Wow.
But I've had longer hair that I took the dreadlocks out, and it took two of us 10 hours to do it.
Wow. Holy mackerel. Okay. So
Anything's
to
possible.
anything is possible with enough time, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So how long does it take to go from normal, straight, brushable hair to dreadlocks the way that you like to do them for a typical client?
For me, it would take about an hour and a half to 2 hours.
That's it?
Well, I've been doing it a really long time. I'm pretty
Okay.
fast.
Wow.
I mean, if you were newer to it, like I remember when I started doing dreadlocks, it probably took me 4 to 5 hours. But it just
Interesting.
depends upon how long the person's been doing it and their technique and their speed.
Right. So it takes much longer to unwind the dreadlock.
That is true.
It reminds me of something my now 13-year-old daughter told me a couple years ago. She said, "I'm really good at climbing trees. I'm just not so good at getting down."
Exactly. I couldn't have said it better.
So this is fascinating. Okay, so the beauty professionals who want to learn more about dreadlocks, you have an education class. We're going to talk about how you educate, but so you educate professionally. What are the common questions that a beauty professional has?
That is a really good question because it's going to be mainly in the technique. That would be and then of course the product line like aftercare. I mean, coming
Hmm.
from a hairstylist perspective, those are going to be the gist of the questions is technique and aftercare. Like, how do I teach my client to do this?
Okay, so what kind of educational product do you have? Is it a website or the in-person classes? How do you do that?
I no longer teach. I
Okay.
used to have an education platform that I launched back in 2019, and I recently shut that down because I'm working. I have a new I always have a new project. I know you're not surprised, but I opened an event space, a venue here in St. Petersburg, and that's been like my love and passion for the last 2 years. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still love hair. I'm not behind the chair anymore.
Okay.
And, but I have a lot of friends in the industry that teach and they're phenomenal at it. There is a lot of online education and a lot of in-person education. We are working on putting together a class this fall. But I'm teaching more business. That's kind of my passion and where I am. And I'm also going to be teaching about manufacturing, distribution, and fulfillment. So anyone that would want to create a product line, I'm partnering with my manufacturer, and we are developing a system, and then I'm also developing a software program to help industries connect with consumers, and just to make the process seamless and
That's
easy.
very, very interesting because so many people aspire to having their own products. Okay, we're not going to go there yet, though. I want to talk about your product, Dolly Locks. You're still running it, despite the fact that you're not behind the chair right now, and you're doing an event space. We're not going to digress
But I
into
do
the
have a
event
salon.
you have a salon. Okay, you have a salon. You have your product. You're very much still in the business.
I'm still in the game.
Totally still in the game. And then when we talk 2 years from now, who knows? You're probably going to have another project happening, or 5.
Oh, I
Okay,
will.
let's talk about the product that you have. What is special about Dolly Locks, a dreadlock focused product? What are the differences between that and the typical stuff like the shampoo and conditioner that I use?
The most important thing is that it's going to be residue free, and it's going to be plant based and water soluble, because with dreadlocks, they're compressed matted hair, so you're not going to be able to brush them. We do have a detox that will help to deep cleanse any product buildup that could have been caused by other products, or, I mean, anything in life, even my product line. If you oversaturate your hair in something, you're going to need to remove it. But luckily, we are in the process of repackaging, and we've made some slight little tweaks to our formulation, which I'm really excited about. I haven't repackaged in 14 years, so this is a real big deal. So everyone's like, "Are you going out of business?" Because everything on the website is 50 to 75% off.
Ooh.
Because we're trying to liquidate our current inventory so we can make room for the new inventory, and
Got it.
we're pretty darn close. We're probably about 2 weeks out from launching it's still Dolly Locks. Just the biggest change is that we're swapping out a lot of the oils for extracts. So it's making the product even lighter. And even though it was residue free before, this kind of makes it foolproof.
Interesting. But that makes sense. Okay, residue free. That makes a lot of sense. And then you said something else in there, residue free and something else.
Well, we don't use any fillers or binders. Of course, we do have preservatives, but they're all plant-based.
I think most people would assume that there's binders because you're thinking, bind the hair, but there's no binders because the hair is bound already.
Fillers,
It's physically bound.
I mean binders like fillers.
Yeah. Okay,
Binding
got
the
it.
ingredients together necessarily. So everything that
Understood.
we use is plant-based, plant-derived.
Very, very interesting. Okay, 75% off. Now's the time to go buy some.
Yeah, get it now. Some of the fragrances or scents that we have right now will not be available when we launch the new line. But I think we've been pretty clear with that. Some of them are going to change a little bit, but yeah, I'm really excited about this. It's been a while since I've really made any changes to the product line, and so repackaging it was the driving force behind most of it. And I love my new manufacturer, and just being able to partner with them has been huge.
Okay, so let's talk about the manufacturing process, or let's talk about the process of starting a product, because most hairstylists aspire to having their own product, because doesn't it seem awesome? You just have this product, and then people buy it magically on the internet. You don't even know who these people are, but their money is flowing into your bank account. and you're making money while you sleep. And of course, this is everybody's ambition.
That's the
So
American dream.
American dream. So how do you start?
It takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of money, depending upon how many products you're going to have. I don't want to scare anybody, but it adds up so fast. I mean, when you look at the components for the bottle, the label, the closure, don't even think about getting them screen printed right off the bat, because you're going to have changes. And we are worldwide, so that also comes with a registered agent. So we have to abide by the cosmetic industry. So there's compliance standards. Any product that is sold worldwide needs to be registered within that country. So that is also something to take into consideration. If you're going to sell overseas, if you're going to stay within the continental US, it's not as difficult. But if it's going to go through customs, these are some of the things that they're going to look for. And putting together a solid list of ingredients, making sure that you know what's going into your product, that's huge for me. When I started Dolly Locks, I went through 4 different manufacturers, and I'm like, what is this? What is this? They kept putting in chemical ingredients and synthetic ingredients and artificial, and I'm not about that. And that was really, really hard 14 years ago. Now it's a little easier because they're getting on track and they're like, oh yeah, let's be clean, let's be friendly. Whereas before it was all, I mean, it was really hard to find. I'm like, aren't there any organic chemists? Like, isn't there anybody out there? So it was a lot of time and a lot of money. It took me 7 years of just research and development just to make my first product.
Oh my God. Okay. And so give us a ballpark, if Allison listening wants to start her own
Hi,
product.
Allison.
Hey, Allison. She wants to start her own product called Allison Shampoo and Conditioner. So how much money should Allison have in her bank account that is going to be dedicated to this product, to launching?
Well, if Allison's going to do it herself and she's going to do it at home, she does want to make sure that she's abiding by just basic standards of cleanliness and disinfecting, and just to make sure that she's putting out a clean product.
Well, hold on. I don't know about doing it at home. I mean, I think she's going to go get a manufacturer to do it. Okay, sorry.
If she goes to a manufacturer, this is where it gets a little tricky, because
Okay.
most manufacturers are not going to touch a product unless it's something that they already create and develop for under 10,000 units.
10,000 units. Okay, 10,000 pieces. Now, is that 10,000 pieces of shampoo and another 10,000 pieces of conditioner, or
That is
5 and 5?
That is the standard. That's for a larger manufacturer. You will find a lot of manufacturers that do have their own brands that they will private label for you. And if you do that, then you could generally get a lower run. And there are some manufacturers out there that'll help smaller companies to get up and running. And that's ideally the direction that I would like to go, since I partner with the manufacturer, because I'm what's considered bootstrap. What I have done is I found someone to help me. Like, I knew the ingredients that I wanted. Like, these are the ingredients I want, but I don't know how much of what to put in there. Like, I didn't know. So I partnered with a few different labs, like taking, like, this is my recipe, and can you help me make it? And they weren't, like, it wasn't registering to them. And then I did find someone here in Florida that was like, oh yeah, I get what you're trying to do, and I can help you, like, create this finite this recipe for your formula. And so that's, I mean, that is essentially step one in the process. And finding someone that can help you develop the base for your product, or you go to a manufacturer that already has, like, their own formulations,
Right.
and they can maybe tweak it for you a little bit. But ideally, what I would like to do is, now that I am working with a much larger manufacturer, is to help smaller companies to get started so they don't have to jump in and make 10,000 units of something. Like maybe we could help them develop, because I mean the design for the labels, the printing of the labels, like these are all different companies, and they're not going to want to do a run of 500 labels. You'll find companies that will do it, but you're going to pay the price for it. So it's kind of like, the larger quantity that you are able to produce and manufacture, the lower price per unit you're going to get each individual component. However, like the smaller, it's going to be more expensive. So then you just got to kind of find that fine line, like when you go on to like one of those companies where you're buying promo merch stuff, and it's like, but if I get 100 of them, it's 49 cents. But if I get 10,000 of them, it's like 5 cents. So you have to find that like happy medium area for where your budget is. But to get back to our girl, oh, I forgot her name. Allison. I'm so sorry, Allison. Like I was off somewhere else. But to get back to Allison, I mean, ideally, you're probably gonna need about, for a shampoo and conditioner, 10,000 units. I would say roughly between 30 and 50 grand. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want something of substance.
Right. And is that the type of path where you're taking a formulation that the manufacturer already has, and then you tweak it? You maybe add a slightly different fragrance or something to it?
Yeah.
Or is that the one where you can go in there and get something like custom?
That's a really good question. It's hard. That's why I gave you such a big ballpark figure, because it all depends upon each individual ingredient. Because you could hand me something and I could take it in and have them reverse engineer it and figure out like, okay, this is what this product is and this is how much it's going to cost. And you're like, whoa, like that's going to cost me $4 a bottle, and then I'm going to have to sell it for 12. And so you're trying to figure it out, but then it's like, okay, well, we could do, because it was important for me to do organic. And that's why I do so many units, because I need it to make sense. You know, it's like, yes, I love doing this, but I can't do it as a hobby because I want to have other hobbies. And I want to they say if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. You still, that's not really true, but
I know.
I can still love what I do.
Right. No, I get it. And I think that the part that never comes along with that statement is that very rarely is there something that you love everything about it. Like even the things that you like, a lot of people love doing hair, but not every aspect of it. Like you get shitty clients who they ruin your day. And then, there's slow patches of time and you're worried about your income, So you don't love all of it or hate all of it, depending on what you're talking about. But
the ebb and flow.
The ebb and flow. And hobbies need financial support, usually from something called a job. And most of the time, the job isn't exactly what you love to do the whole time. So
what I'm really good at, I love, I have so many ideas in my head. I wouldn't have time to execute all of them. But I love to create. I love to build. I love to be, it's innovative, and I like to change things and create and nurture, and these are all the things that I want. I wish I could do that 24/7. But then, there's business and there's taxes, and then there's always that other side to business that people don't necessarily see. But that's like any career. You only see the side that you feel that's greener than your grass.
Yes.
But there's always the backstage.
Right. The shit that happens, the sausage making, so to speak.
Exactly.
This is kind of reminding me a little bit of this documentary called The Biggest Little Farm. Have you seen it?
I have not.
The Biggest Little Farm. Listeners, you should go watch this. This is a farm called Apricot Lane Farms. And I'm not going to digress as much as it might seem I am. but it's right down the street from where I live in Ventura County, California, just north of LA. And it's a fascinating thing where this couple got together and they wanted to build this kind of idealistic kind of farm where everything's beautiful and the animals love each other and play with the plants and stuff. And the documentary shows shows what it's actually like. And I've been to this farm, and it is that beautiful and it's that amazing. But of course, I can get back in the car and leave. I don't have to be the one, who's is up all night trying to cleaning up the shit and
Literally.
like keeping the coyotes away from killing the chickens and all
Yeah.
the other. But so yes, that is life. The super fun idea of starting your own product. There's, I'm sure, a lot of fun things about it, like you've explained, and there's a lot of sausage making behind it. And then, of course, you have just the element of doing something entrepreneurial, and there's risk involved with that, and there's reward if things work out, and there's failure if things don't. And the product business is pretty easy to see that you could end up, you get 10,000 bottles of shampoo and 10,000 bottles of conditioner, and then you have to sell them.
Yep.
And so let's talk about.
Everything has an expiration date.
Right. So we've been through the creative part. You've done your label, which is like the fun. And then you've done the different products and you smell it and you use it, and that's fun too. And you're like tweaking it. Okay. So then you have it. Now you have to sell it. So talk about that part. How does that work?
Marketing.
Marketing. What is that?
Yes, marketing. That is a strategy that you're going to use to get people's attention.
Interesting.
And that
Interesting.
takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of time. Advertising and marketing is crazy. And, being in the business, and I'm lucky to have the team that I do. I didn't always have that team, and the brand ambassadors and influencers. There's been a few that have reached out to me, and they want a substantial amount of money to market the products, and me personally, I don't feel that that's necessary, because I love my products. I know they're good products, and I want people to use them that genuinely love them. And that's how I end up with our brand ambassadors and our influencers is, I just want them to love the product. And then of course, I do have a generous commission that we provide to our influencers and brand ambassadors. And we're working on new strategies as I'm sitting here speaking, when we launch the new line, because of course we have so much to share that I'm like so excited about. But yeah, I mean the manufacturing, getting the word out. But I truly believe, and I know this is going to sound cliche, but if you have a good product and people truly love it, that to me speaks volumes.
Yeah.
But also having some cool commercials too, like. But
Right.
I want to make people laugh, so that's something that we're working on too.
Oh, fun.
I made three videos, three commercials when I first launched Dolly Locks, back in, I think I made them in 20, because I launched the product line in 2001, and then I think we made the videos probably 10 years ago, like
Oh my gosh.
we'll just say 2010.
Hmm.
When I'm no 2001 is when I moved here. Sorry, 2011 is when we launched the product line. So 2011, so I would say 2017, maybe 16. We made these three commercial videos, and they're so much fun. They're on YouTube. You have to search
Nice.
for, really dig for them and find them. But
Dolly Locks channel.
yeah, Dolly Locks
There.
YouTube.
There you go. Okay,
Yeah.
so you said it costs a substantial amount of, or at least these marketing companies want a substantial amount of money. What is substantial?
I would say, I mean, for me, the highest price that has crossed my path is $10,000 a post.
Per
Yeah,
per post?
yeah. It's
So
for
wait a
for a
second.
post. It's like for a post and a story. I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't even like look through the entire contract that was sent to me, because I'm
Yeah,
never gonna pay that.
right.
But the most I've paid anybody is probably um, uh, like a couple $100
Okay,
for a
yeah,
video, or um, yeah.
right. So you can, of course, do digital advertising on social media. You can do it on Google. You do it, and it's very expensive. It's very
Yes,
expensive, and it's gotten more and more expensive. And
I
this
know.
is why Mark Zuckerberg is worth $40 billion, because he owns these platforms that lots of people like to pay attention to as they scroll through their Instagram feeds. And there are people who want to get their products in front of you who pay Mark a lot of money. It's like, it totally depends on the product, that you're doing. It's kind
And
of
Mark, if
an
you're
auction.
listening, please give us some free advertising.
Yes. Yes. Free advertised Dolly Locks and the Hair Game podcast, by the way.
And Hair Game Podcast. Thank
Those
you. Thank you, Mark.
Although it's different for me because I don't make money on the Hair Game podcast. So anyway, the Mark Zuckerberg, and then of course Google, and these companies. That's why they're so darn big. They're basically
Google's
advertisers.
insane. Google's
They're
insane. They blow up my phone on a daily basis.
they're advertisers. They call each other. They call themselves tech companies. They're just advertising companies. That's it.
Yeah, yeah. And
They use
they're
technology.
it's
to
borderline
advertise.
harassment.
It is
Oh,
borderline.
God.
It is borderline harassment. That is 100% it. But everybody uses them. As long as people spend time in Instagram, TikTok is now TikTok is an advertiser.
Yeah.
It's barely even a social media company. It is 100% an advertiser. And if
Yeah.
you don't like TikTok being worth $100 billion, you don't like Mark Zuckerberg having houses all over the world worth $50 billion, stop going to Instagram.
Yeah.
Because if people stop going to Instagram, then nobody will pay Mark Zuckerberg to advertise on Instagram.
It's strange that you say that because I never really thought about that. Like if everyone just stopped using social media, I mean, I knew it would never happen, but what if?
It wouldn't even take everybody stopping using social media. It would just take 30%, 40% of
Think
people
so?
to stop opening the Instagram app. And yeah, and the entire thing would collapse.
Wow.
I mean, the cost of advertising would collapse. Of course, the benefit of advertising on it would collapse, and the business would absolutely collapse. I mean, Facebook is worth, what, $1 trillion or something like that? I'm going to look it up right now since we're on here.
Give or take.
Yeah, something like that. I have it. Where is it? It's called, let's see. It's called Meta now. Yeah,
Yep.
it's worth $1.2 trillion.
Wow.
And so if, 30, 40, 50% of people stopped opening Instagram, that would almost disappear. I mean, it would be worth a tenth of that,
Do you
probably.
think it's even possible though?
Of course.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's just, human behavior. If something else takes over, if something else is more entertaining to people and they stop going to Instagram so much, then that's what would happen. It's just unlikely because Instagram is so good at showing us things that we want to see.
Yeah.
But, it's the individual behavior, one person at a time kind of a thing.
Yeah. I've been really like I'm not real like I don't even have TikTok on my phone. Um I have Facebook and Instagram, but it's just because of the businesses.
Right.
And I don't really post that much. I have been recently just because we're getting ready to launch the product line and it's important for me to market the products.
Yes, of course. And
We're
and
talking
this is what.
about stopping, and I'm like, I need to do a little more.
Well, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying people should stop. I'm saying if somebody doesn't like Mark
Yes,
Zuckerberg
thank
being,
you.
you know,
If you don't, you be the
worth
change. If you
a
don't
hundred
like it,
billion dollars or whatever, people always get upset when people in our society do well. Well, if you don't like it, then stop using the product. The bottom line is people use it because they like it. It's entertaining for them. It gives them value in some way. It's value because it's entertainment. It's value because they market their business on it, so on and so forth. I'm not saying people should stop. I'm not going to stop because, our community lives there. So if our community
Oh,
lives there, I'm going to be there. But as far as the personal value, I've completely stopped going to Instagram for entertainment
that's
because I find that I just sit there and I scroll and I drool out of the side of one mouth, looking out of the side of my mouth, looking at stupid videos.
yeah. My
Like
kryptonite is our kittens and puppies.
there
That's
you
my
go.
kryptonite. I'm
There you
like,
go.
I just lost an hour of my day. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. I don't like if I catch myself even like going through 5 consecutive videos, I make myself put my phone down. I'm like, no, because you already know where it's gonna go. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
It just goes into wasting more and more of your time. But it is kind of funny the way that it works. I mean, I remember maybe 2 years ago or so, there was a period where on my Explore page, it was like, I don't know, 50% facial extraction videos because I clicked on one pimple popping video
Oh yeah.
somewhere along the way, or somebody sent me one. Like, I have these big text chains, like I'm sure we all do. And a lot of my buddies from high school, I went to an all guy high school. And so I'm on text chains with these guys. And so they will attach, Instagram videos with a link, and I click on it, and then it's a pimple popping video. So next thing I know, half of my Explore page is pimple popping videos, and it's gross.
You're like, I don't want that.
It's like watching a train wreck, kind of. It's like I don't
It
want to
is.
watch it, but it's kind of interesting. And
Yeah.
so you get in these things, and they're a complete waste of time.
I couldn't agree with you more. I when you said all boy high school, I was intrigued by that because I didn't know that like that really existed. I mean, I knew
Oh
that it
yeah,
existed, but I don't think I've ever known anyone that went to like an
really?
all gender specific
Yeah.
school.
So yeah, I went to it was a Jesuit. A Jesuit is an order of Catholic priests, and
Okay.
that focused on education that's like 500 years old or something. And so I went to a Jesuit all guy Catholic high school, and we had the Catholic all girls high school right down the street. And so, in class, it was, you're around a bunch of dudes, and, we had to wear ties and suits and stuff, blazers.
Very proper.
Very proper, so you didn't have to worry about what you're wearing to school because you just put on the same shit every day. And then the girls were right down the street. And so in class, you're with the dudes, and then after school, there's always things happening with your sister school, it's called, and you do things with them, and everybody knows each other. So there's a lot of social interaction, and that was it. And it was great. And those relationships that I built with those guys are still. I mean, I'm 48 years old. I graduated from that school at 18. I'm still very, very close with dozens and dozens of those guys.
That's brilliant. I love that. Do you
Yeah,
feel that going to an all-male high school, do you feel that there it gave you more focus?
100%.
Yeah.
1,000%. And one of the best things about it, and I explain this now and then if people ask, and here we are, we've digressed into the educational structures. Okay, so one of the things that I like about it, that I liked about it, is that when you're in school and you go to math class or whatever, there you don't have the social pressures or anxieties that come around um, the context where there's girls there, and like you might like one of the girls, and the fact that you like that girl over there means that I'm going to behave differently in class. I'm going to maybe try to act cool,
Absolutely.
or I'll be more concerned about who I'm sitting with or how I'm perceived or what I'm wearing or all the normal human behaviors that we do.
Uh-huh.
And none of that entire dynamic was removed from the learning environment. So I probably had 120 guys in my class, and we were pretty much all friends with each other. You did, because no longer are you worried about being friends with like maybe the nerdy guy, because being seen talking to the nerdy guy might not look cool to the girl that you're trying to
Impress.
attract, right?
Sure.
And which is so sad. And so when you remove that dynamic, we all get to know each other for who we are, and it was phenomenal. And that's why we are all so close still.
Do you feel that it would suppress the need for bullying as well?
Oh, 100%. Because, you don't need to exert your status, you don't need to exert your whatever over somebody else and trying to impress, whoever you're trying to impress. And it's the same thing when you have those kind of dynamics, your behavior is influenced by those typically in a way that's not the best for a learning environment. And that's what you're in school for. You're not in school to find a girlfriend or a boyfriend. You're there to learn whatever, English.
But there is that distraction, of course.
And you have that distraction, and that's huge. So yeah, I think I've always thought that it was really, really great.
Yeah.
Really great. And
I'm
there
sure
should be more of it, but there isn't.
I agree with that. Like I said, I didn't mean to change the subject, but I was so intrigued because I've never really spoken to anyone that went to like a same-sex high school.
Yeah.
But I feel that it would have so many benefits in just molding the person that you inevitably become
Yeah, I loved
and
it.
those friendships that you have.
I loved it. But we digress. I'm going to pull us back into the podcast
Once
episode.
again.
That's really
we go.
listeners of the Hair Game podcast. You have no idea what you're going to get when you download the episode and you start listening. Who knew that you're going to be subjected to a conversation about single gender education? Okay, so
Everyone gets what they need.
there we go. All right. Well, this has been fascinating. We discussed lots of different things here. Before we wrap it up, I'm sure that there are dreadlock horror stories that you've experienced where things just went off the rails. Please explain. Please tell us your worst hair horror stories.
Oh my gosh, there's so many. I mean, a lot of it, unfortunately, has to do with the client and of course, human interaction and their mindset. It's just like anyone that does hair. It's gonna have the same dynamic almost as pertaining to my horror stories, but dreadlocks specific. I had a client, and I'm not saying like I really don't even want to say this because I don't want people to think that because you have dreadlocks that you're prone to getting lice, because anyone can get lice, and actually the cleaner your hair is, the more prone you are to getting lice.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, lice, they don't like dirty hair. The best way to kill lice is smothering them with oil.
Interesting.
Yeah, so
Okay.
the cleaner the hair is, you're more prone to snagging some friends. But yeah, that was probably my biggest horror story that really like is like embedded in my brain that terrified me. Is I was halfway through a maintenance and didn't realize that the kid, I mean, he was younger and his sister had it, and that's how he ended up getting it. But he didn't even know he had it. And I'm like halfway through his maintenance and I like pull apart two dreadlocks and I like I thought I saw something, and you do that blink where you're like, blink, blink.
Like something moved?
Something moved. Yeah.
It's
And that was
disgusting.
the first time ever in my life that I'd seen lice. But I don't think it's dreadlock specific. I just think the only reason I didn't see it was because of the dreadlocks, and I was separating dreadlocks.
I guess it's better for lice. Dreadlocks are good for lice because they can hide. I think we've had
That rumor.
we've had lice horror stories before,
Yeah.
And it is it gives me the heebie-jeebies.
You don't you don't stop, like it's not like you felt it, but you don't stop feeling it. Like after you
Right.
see it, you're just like, oh, it's all over me. Like
Can't unsee it.
yeah, yeah. And that's only the second time I've ever dealt with lice. The first time when I was in hair school. And I'm like, what in the world is it? But then, that's why you go to hair school so you can learn some of those things.
Okay, but I have to know, as you're kind of separating the dreadlocks and you saw things move, like how many lice did you see?
How many lices?
Lices? How many lice?
Lice. There were a few. Yeah, it
There are a
was
lot.
enough to scare the shit out of me.
Oh my God. Wow. And
Yeah,
so
I
what'd you
felt
do?
bad for the kid though, because he had no idea. He was mortified and he was
Sure.
embarrassed, and
Of course.
it was so sad because he was
So
young.
what'd you do?
But that was traumatizing for me because I'd never experienced anything like that before. But I mean, as far as like bad dreadlock horror stories, it generally, and this still happens to this day, and I do believe there's a special place in hell for these people that they sit in your chair for. And this one particular client, it was probably about 10 or 11 hours it took me to do his hair. And he pulled the old, oh, where's my wallet?
Oh no.
Yeah, yeah. And this was
The
before there was like Cash App or Venmo. Like we didn't have any of that technology at the time. And yeah, so I got stiffed.
ah
He
the
said he was gonna
our
come right back.
he said, I'm gonna come right back.
I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna go to the bank. And I'm gonna be right back.
And he left and he did not come back.
He did not come back.
And you never saw him again.
I never saw him again. But I
Ah,
did find him, and that because when you do a specialized service, people will fly in to see you, and he flew in from, I think it was New Jersey or it was somewhere up north, and because he sat in my chair for so long, I got to know a lot about him. So
yeah.
I tracked his job, and ironically enough, he had quit his job a few days before he flew down to get his hair done. So I couldn't track him through his job, but then I was able to find out his location of where he lived. I tracked, like, I had a friend help me. Got his, because he obviously blocked me on his phone, but I ended up getting a hold of his mom. And she gave me the girlfriend's number. So I ended up like being able to get in contact with him, but he never returned my calls. So I did file a police report in the state of Florida. So if he does come to Florida and gets arrested for anything, he does have a warrant for his arrest.
Oh, that's badass.
So do
So
that, people. If you ever get stiffed, file a report so they at least have a warrant for their arrest.
yeah. Well, how much money was it?
Oh, it was about $2,300.
Oh, okay. So you hit up his mom, and were
It
you?
was like extensions. I bought the hair, I installed it.
Oh,
But after that appointment, I got smarter because not that I wasn't smart then, I just didn't have a process.
right.
So after that, I started taking deposits. I took a deposit for the hair. You take a deposit for everything.
Everything.
And I didn't do deposits back then.
So I have to know, when you talk to the mom and the girlfriend, were you like, your son, your boyfriend, is basically a crook?
Oh, they didn't care. I don't think it came as a surprise.
Oh, that's too bad.
They're like, well, that's between you and him. I'm like, okay.
You're like, no, it shouldn't be only between me and him. You should do your job as a parent. Teach him right and wrong for the love of God.
Yeah,
So he doesn't
he was in his 20s, and yeah,
still.
that was
All
a
right.
bad one. That was a bad one.
Any last words for the community?
Oh gosh. Well, I would like to. I'm hosting two retreat style workshops. I'm not part of the actual education. Well, I might be, like, to talk about manufacturing and business. But Sarai is going to be having a retreat at Oak Street Exchange is my event space. 'Cause
Cool.
I did build it for hair education.
Oh,
So
great.
I've got 2 acres of land,
Oh my
6,000
God.
square feet. I know, it's so pretty too.
Where is this?
In St. Pete, Florida.
Oh my God. 2 acres of land?
It's gorgeous, and it's at a dead end. So there's no traffic, and right now I
Dead
have
end.
dead
I
end.
mean, that's a pun,
Alright. It's
right?
a good dead end. One you don't want to trim.
That's right.
But I have the reason I bought Oak Street was because there was a blue heron up in the pine tree.
A blue heron.
A
Look
blue
who you're talking to. I mean, this is right. Blue hair in.
blue heron.
I'm pointing at my
This
blue hair for the
baby.
listeners. I mean, there's all sorts of connections here. Okay, keep going.
I love it. I'm going to show you. Well, stepping off film for a second. So when I looked at the property, there was a blue heron in the tree, and she's now my mascot. So
Oh, look at that.
Oak Street Exchange.
A
So I named her
red
Sunshine.
bird. Is a blue heron red?
No, this is orange though, but it's just for the
Orange.
card. Yeah,
Got it.
just
Oh, it's very cool.
for marketing purposes.
Ah,
And
back to the market.
but yeah, so she was there when I looked at the property. I ended up purchasing the property. I renovated the entire space, so it's a creative event space that is specifically like focused towards hair education. I have a salon in there, four chair salon. It's about 550 square feet, and that's the salon that's inside the main house. But yeah, so I created it for hair education because obviously it holds near and dear to my heart. And Sarai, Platinum and Draft is like my soul sister. I
Yeah.
love her, and that's how I know you, or how I got to meet you, I should
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
Yeah, but she's going to be hosting one of many, one this fall, and then we're planning on doing a lot of beautiful things together. And then Hairdressers is also hosting an event there at the end of the year this
Very
fall.
cool.
So look
Very
them
cool.
up. Yeah, so I'm really excited. That's my last thing that I want to add is that if anyone is looking for hair education, looking for a place to host hair education, I'm more than happy to help. And then the Dolly Locks line, Dolly Locks Organic Products, is going to be relaunching in just a few weeks. So look out for the packaging. I'm doing a lot of collaborations with that I'm very excited about. Many of my friends have submitted art that's going to be part of the labels.
Very cool.
So I'm super excited about being able to collaborate with them and give them the love and attention that their art deserves. And of course,
Sure.
doing a little swapping with the formulas, just making it a little cleaner, lighter. So lots of good things are happening.
Amazing. Amazing.
You should come to St. Pete.
I should.
Little podcast there.
That's a great idea. That's a
got
great
that.
idea. I might take you up on that. All right. You are Alin Leslie. You're Dolly Locks. Thank you so much.
You are very welcome. It's been my pleasure.